Hi, everyone. I'm Big Al with Country Music News International and also the host of the Big Al and Sandy Radio Show. And with us is a fine young lady, artist on Mountain Home Records. Her name is Carley Arrowood. And I must say, Carley, congratulations to you, the International Bluegrass Music Association Momentum Award Female Vocalist of the Year 2023. I bet you were just tickled to death to get that, wasn't you?
Thank you. Yeah, that was a treat for sure. That was fun.
I'm kind of surprised I was able to hook up with you on the heels of the IBMA award show because I know that you're busy. You got all these things going on and doing records, singles, and everything else. So I'm glad to get a chance to talk with you just to let
Abs-
everybody know. And I don't talk too much. You'll do most of the talking, but just to let everybody know before I forget you, I'm getting old, honey. I kind of forget every now and again. But I think it was 2017. You took home the Momentum Instrumentalist of the Year, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was blessed to be given one of those. I think Tristan Scroggins and Casey Campbell were named the other two. Usually they do two, but they did three that year. So that was really cool to share that with those guys and just really honored. So very thankful for it.
Well, those momentum awards, as I tell everybody, they're kind of hard to get because you're really that expands over the whole instrumentalist and the vocalist and everything else. So it's kind of tough to get that. So you got both of them. You got a pair. We'll see what other ones you can get here next
We'll
year.
see. I don't know. Whatever the Lord has in store.
That's the way it works. So you've got some great music that is out right now, and we're going to talk about some of the songs: "Chasing Indigo," "Deeper in Love," "Sally's Run," or "Sally's Run," which is your instrumental. Now, is
Mhm.
this going to be on an upcoming album?
Yes, yeah. All three of these singles are kind of previews of what we've got to come. We were talking at IBMA actually about some album release stuff, and so we're thinking early next year possibly. So we'll keep kind of talking it out and see what we can come up with. But yeah, lots of original material on there. I think there may be one cover. It's a cover of a gospel song, but yeah, a lot of new songs and stuff that kind of encompasses more the sound that I want to put out in the world. And it's not really traditional bluegrass. It's not really, progressive. It's somewhere in the middle. I call it acoustic contemporary. So it's some, I don't know, still working on the name of it. I mean, it's obviously bluegrass and roots music, but just some fun stuff in there. So looking forward to that release.
I think it's from your experiences that you've had in music, and I'm talking. You're one of those handful of true artistry. You've got a lot of music in your soul, and I think the experiences by playing with people like Aaron Brooke Aldridge and
Hmm.
John Cowan
Hmm.
and Jimmy Fortune, and you take all that experience, and you and your husband, you've co-written some great stuff as well. But I want to talk about this one that you and your husband, I believe Daniel co-wrote. It's called "Chasing Indigo." That song is that's a feel-good song. It's just nice to listen to if you want to drink a cup of coffee and maybe look at the moon, or sit out
Yeah,
there on the table, or sit out on the deck on a morning time when the fog is. So tell us about that song.
I love that description. That's so cool. Yeah, we I had actually been in just this yucky, dry, writing spell. Like I couldn't come up with anything, and um, so it kind of came out of, I guess, off the heels of that. Um, I was just like, Lord, I need to be writing some stuff, and that one. I remember I had the idea to use the word indigo because I was like, there's not really much um I guess out there with that word because it's such a weird word. I don't know. Um, but we share just a love of sunsets, and where we live is very rural. So across our driveway you can always see, especially in the summertime, um, just some gorgeous skies. And the picture that we used for the cover of the song is a picture that he took out here after a big storm. And so wasn't really doctored a whole lot. I might have just brightened it up just a touch, but it was that brilliant. And so the song kind of just was a reminder to each other to because we both work from home. He's a wonderful, talented Bible rebinder, and he's blessed to be able to do that from home. And I'm, a homemaker and working on music stuff as well. So it's hard to put a period on it at the end of the day. And so that was kind of our reminder to each other. Hey, this is great that we're able to do this, but we need to look up and look at each other and spend time together, doing that, whether it's going outside and sitting at the top of the driveway, watching the sun go down, or going for a drive, or, whatever it is. And so I hope that people can relate to that and just be able to take it all in, because, can't take your work with you, but you have the ones that you love for the rest of your life. So that's about it.
As you see, I believe everybody will get exactly what the song is meant for.
Yeah.
And
One
it
of my
was great.
favorite lines in that was the one that says, let your train of thought derail. I love that line. Every time we sing it, I'm just like, man, it's so true. Just let it all go.
Yeah. And I hope people will do that once in a while. That's the reason why
Yeah.
I do broadcasting in bluegrass and listen to music. I can get out of the world for a little bit, shut the door, and visit with people like you, and we can have some smiles and some fun.
Yeah.
We're talking with Carley Arrowood. She is a mountain home recording artist, and she just took home the female book of the Momentum Award that the IBMA hands out. And she's got a new album that's going to be coming out here sometime in the latter part of early 24, actually. So 10 years old, he was watching a friend play music in 4-H. And as I told you before we got into the recorded conversation, my wife, she is a 4-H coordinator, has been for 20 some years. So we work with kids all the time. Kind of give us a little story, a little background story on that class.
Yeah. That was such a fun time. I was transitioning because I did gymnastics from like age 7 to 9, something like that. And we were doing 4-H. My mom homeschooled us, and so we were able to do 4-H and things like that. And at one of the, they have these little entertainment things for county and, regionals and nationals or whatever. And so our little county put on a talent competition, and this young guy, 14 years old, Todd Elliott, goes up on stage, and he just has his ball cap and his flannel and is just as country can be, and is playing the fiddle and doesn't have a guitar backing him up at all. He's just telling the story of the devil went down to Georgia. And it was just so entertaining. And then he would, he would speak the part, and then he would play the fiddle, and then he would tell the next line, and then he would play the fiddle. And I remember being so in awe of that. And I was like, Mama, I have to learn how to do that. And so we were able to get in touch with his teacher, which she was a classical violin teacher. She went to Juilliard. Jan Darty is her name. And she was Juilliard educated and was a violist and played violin as well. And so she was like, the first lesson, do you want to do viola or violin? And I was like, violin, like no question at all. And I just wanted to learn how to play the fiddle. And I wound up doing Suzuki classical violin for about 4.5 years. I did youth symphony. I was concert master of the youth symphony, but I couldn't read music very well. And it took them a while to figure that out. I could hear things really well. And Miss Jan would help me, figure out what to play. And then I could make sense of the notes. But it's like, you take 2 years of Spanish and you still can't speak a lick of it. So I could not read music very well at all. And eventually, I really enjoyed improvising, and we were doing bluegrass music through those years. And eventually, something had to give. We were just doing a lot, and I loved symphony, but I loved bluegrass more because you can just play from your heart. You can play whatever you want, and it works, and you learn how to be a better artist that way. So that's kind of in a nutshell. That was like the first few years of high school. So
Well,
Yeah.
that's an amazing story, and all true artists have those types of stories. Now, let me give out your website. That's
Hmm.
carleyarrowwood.com. And they can go pick up these singles. I mean, they're on any download platform. You also have Facebook, and I know you're young, you're on Instagram and all that jazz. So anybody can find you anywhere. Of course, you've made what, 17 appearances on the Grand Ole Opry, something like that?
I think it was maybe 13. I don't think it was quite 17, but I think looking back, it was about 13. So,
Wow. Well, that's still a lot of appearances on the Grand Ole Opry. Uh, since you mentioned about your fiddle playing, let's talk about Saley's Run, the instrumental. Maybe we'll get into that. So, writing an instrumental, how does that work?
yeah, I mean, I think that's the one that, um, I mean, sometimes you have to work for a melody and sometimes you just start humming and all of a sudden something comes from it. And I think that was one of those. I was riding up the road and I love, Celtic music too. And I've always wanted to write something with that Celtic feel. And so this little tune started, I started humming it. And when I'm driving, sometimes like I can finger it out on the steering wheel and I'm like, okay, this might work. And I got home and I started playing it, and it took a minute to get the rest of the pieces together. And then when we recorded it, Jim Van Cleve was producing for me, and he kind of, brought me off of a crazy thing and was like, "Well, just go back and do this part, and you've got a song." And so my husband and I, went up to um, Cherokee for our first anniversary last summer, and we went to go see Unto These Hills, the outdoor drama about the Trail of Tears, and it's so sad. It's such a sad story. But one of the main characters' name was Solly, and he was a hero among his people. And basically, he gave up his life. He and two of his boys were fugitives, and they wound up giving up their lives so that the rest of the people in the stockades could live or could go free.
Mhm.
Um, or at least be delayed and being shipped off to Oklahoma. And so um, we put the little jig at the beginning and then kind of broke into the 4/4, hard driving bluegrass. And when we got home from our trip, we just could picture Solly and his boys running through the woods. And Daniel was like, "You have to name it that." Because I toyed with that. And there's a waterfall that we love to visit called Colasaja Falls up in the Highlands in North Carolina. And I almost called it Colasaja. And I was like, so torn between those two titles. And he was like, Solly's Run. That's it. And so he kind of put the stamp of approval on that. And so, but it's like I said, it's a sad story. They wound up being shot in a firing squad. And Solly says that he did not want to die at the hands of the white man. And so they chose three men from the group of Cherokee in the stockades and said, take them outside and end their lives. And so we had Tony Kreisman playing drums on that song, and he didn't know that that's the story that we were telling. But if you listen really closely at the end of the song, he kind of starts adding these little crash cymbals here and there. They're subtle, but you can hear them. And he starts kind of building the end of the song because it ends really abruptly. And on the last phrase, there are three crash cymbals. And when Daniel and I were listening to the mix, um, I was like, I got cold chills. I was like, back that up. One of us was like, back that up. I heard something. And so we listened to it again and we just got cold chills. And we were like, there's three crash cymbals there. And it sounds like the gunshots. And we were just like, ah. So, and it's like, he didn't do that on purpose. It's just the magic of the studio. So, and I told him that story. And the next time we went back to record, and I said, Tony, did you do that on purpose? And he said, no, I did not do that at all. I was just playing. And I told him that story, and he was just, he talks real. He's like, man, that's awesome. So it was such a fun time. But yeah, I love telling stories, no matter if it's an instrumental or a vocal tune. So that was a fun one to put together.
Well, Solly's Run, a great instrumental, and y'all can pick that up on download as well. And I have to apologize a little bit. I was calling it like Saley's, but
Oh,
it's kind
that's
of
fine.
that's kind of
It's
my
a
Well, that's kind of that's my West Virginia accent is what that is.
That's all good. It's all good.
Well, I'm just glad that I got that from you down, and now we'll know what it is. It's Solly's Run, but you can pick these up. What we're talking about here, go to her website. It's CarleyArrowwoodMusic.com. Any download platform, Facebook, she's all out there. So there is a song, a little bit more bluegrass here because you're a stylist. I mean, you have different styles. Deeper in Love. So
Mhm.
kind of give us a little mention where that came from, and everyone ought to get that one as well.
Yeah, that's the first single that we put out back in February. This was one of those tunes that you wish that you had a hand in writing, but I did not. This one was written by Josh Schilling and Bill White, and I reached out to Josh when we were younger. My sister and I, Autumn, we played in a band, and we actually opened for Mountain Heart one time in Shelby, North Carolina. So we've known of Josh, for years, and wound up friends on Facebook. And I messaged him one day. I was like, "Hey, Josh, do you have any songs that you would be willing to give up for me to try to put on a record?" And I think this one was really hard for him to let go of because he was just like, "I love this song so much." And I was like, "We'll try to do it justice." And he he sent it to me and along with some other ones, and I played it in the email. I've got some Bluetooth speakers there in the living room. My sister was here. I was like, "Let's try this one." And I played it, and just his work tape was so good of it. And my sister said, "Shut up and take my money." you know, 'cause she loved it. And so we enjoyed stacking harmonies on that one and just the whole vibe of it. And um for the cover, I used a picture of Daniel and I on the dashboard of his granddaddy's old Ford truck, and so it was just a lot of fun to put that together. And Josh wound up being really tickled with it, so that was neat to be a part of.
It's going to be a great album, variety, and I'm glad that we got the stories here with that. As we finish up, time just goes too quickly. I mean, you get to talking
Hmm.
about different things, and you've got a new song that's going to be coming out. By the way, I want to thank Audrey for getting us together,
Yeah,
especially after
absolutely.
you just coming back from the award show, for goodness sakes. But there is a song, Moon Dancer. But I do have a question before you start describing Moon Dancer to us. Are you part of the Cherokee heritage? Uh,
A little bit, yeah. Just I don't know the like the amount, but there is Cherokee on both sides of my family that go kind of way back. I think my papa's grandpa married a Cherokee woman, and um, my grandmother on my mom's side, her grandparents might have been a little bit a Cherokee, and so Tony Kreisman was kind of, we were talking about it up at the studio, and he was like, "I can tell you have high cheekbones." So it was just really fun. But yeah, I mean, I've always had a love for studying, Native American history. And my mom, we were really blessed to be homeschooled so that we could do studies like that. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, very,
well,
very tickled to have a little bit of that in me anyway.
I wondered about that because when I read the line here, some of the lines from the song, there's an excerpt here on this that Audrey sent to me. And
Hmm.
I looked at that, and then I had thought about Cherokee heritage because it had mentioned that up here, you're the North Carolina mountains. But that is an interesting verse from this song, Moon Dancer. I'm sure you mind if I read it? I mean, it's on the
Sure.
press release. But
Yeah.
it's tonight the moon is dancing on a blanket of snow, riding on a cold mountain breeze. There's a whisper on the wind that tells the story of a girl, a free spirited, untrammeled Cherokee. I mean, that is just like you and your husband, Cobra. And
Yeah. He helped me a little bit with this one for sure.
that's going to be coming out sometime, the end of October?
Yeah. October 27th is the release for Moon Dancer.
I'll be interested to hear that. I won't ask you too much about the song because I know you're going to want to surprise everybody, but I've got in my mind what it's going to be, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I always like to give the people that I talk to maybe a last word of what they might want to tell the listeners, the viewers. So, Carley Arrowood, once again, your website is carleyarrowoodmusic.com. All the download platforms pick up Chasing Indigo, Deeper in Love, Solly's Run, the instrumental, and soon the new single that's going to be coming out, which is called Moon Racer. So, what would you like to tell everybody before we get on out of here?
Man, I don't even know. I'm just so tickled to get to do this, and um, we are we're so blessed. The Lord is so good. I can't take credit for it because the Bible says every good and perfect thing is from Him, is from our Father of Lights, and He doesn't change, and He's awesome, and that's why we do what we do, and the reason we have abilities to do things, and um, who are we to be able to do this? And so I hope that people um, just kind of get a feel for that. If nothing else, that's why we do what we do, because it's just so sweet and such an honor that he would allow us to continue to do what we do. So,
Well, in a chaotic world, young lady, you're doing exactly what he wants you to do. That's make everybody happy.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, no, thank you. And Carley Arrowood, you have a great day. Once again, congratulations on that new Momentum Female Vocalist of the Year Award
Thank
2023.
you.
We'll keep track of you. Hope we'll get a chance to talk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much.